Hello, everybody. At this time, we are talking about comparative advantage. Comparative advantage is an economic theory created by British economist David Ricardo in the 19th century. It argues that countries can benefit from trading with each other by focusing on making the things they are best at making while buying the things they are not as good at making from other countries. This theory is based on the idea that every country has different cost structures and opportunity costs. By focusing on their strengths, they can produce more effectively. Ricardo's research demonstrated that even if one country can make everything more efficiently than another country, international trade is still beneficial. And then, what are the main sources of comparative advantage? The first, demographics, an aging population, net outward or inward migration, educational improvements, and women's participation in the labor force will all affect the quantity and quality of the labor force available for industries engaged in international trade. Second, fluctuating in the exchange rate, which affect the relative prices of exports and imports and cause changes in demand from domestic and overseas customers. Third, import controls such as tariffs, export subsidies, and quotas. These can be used to create an artificial comparative advantage for a country's domestic producers. Fourth, institutions. These are important for comparative advantage and for growth too. Banking systems are needed to provide capital for investment and export credits, legal systems, and help to enforce contracts, political institutions, and the stability of democracy is a key factor behind decisions about where international capital flows. And fifth, non-price competitiveness of producers, covering factors such as the standard of product design and innovation, product reliability, quality of after-sales support. Many countries are now building comparative advantage in high knowledge industries and specializing in specific knowledge sectors. An example is the division of knowledge in the medical industry. Some countries specialize in heart surgery, others in pharmaceutical. Health tourism is becoming more important. And then we move to limitations of comparative advantage. The first, by ignoring a number of costs. The theory of comparative advantage may overemphasize the benefits of specialization. Costs alike include transport costs and other external costs associated with trade get overlooked in this theory, and thus the benefits might be exaggerated. Second, comparative advantage is also in complete contrast to the gravity theory, which says that countries incline towards having trade with similar countries with close geographical proximity. European countries, for example, are more likely to trade with similar European countries, not only because of lower transport costs, but also because of similar cultural backgrounds. And then third, complete specialization can prove to be harmful in the long run as some workers might be unable to transfer from one sector to another. This situation might lead to structural unemployment, which is a limitation or criticism of comparative advantage. Fourth, the theory is based on the basic assumption that markets are perfectly competitive and that there is perfect mobility of factors without any transport costs or diminishing returns. This is highly impossible in the real world. And then we move to implications for international trade. Comparative advantage has profound implications for international trades. It guides countries in developing trade policies that enhance economic welfare by focusing on sectors where they possess comparative strengths. Trade agreements, tariffs, and policies are often influenced by this principle as nations aim to optimize their economic positions. By leveraging comparative advantage, countries can expand their market reach, increase gross domestic product, and improve the standard of living for their citizens. Moreover, comparative advantage facilitates more sustainable economic growth by encouraging productive efficiency and promoting global interconnectedness. And however, reliance on comparative advantage also means that changes in global markets can impact a country's economy, leading to shifts in production status and economic resilience. And then we move to benefits of comparative advantage. Comparative advantage has several benefits, including the first, lower opportunity costs and higher profit margins. Countries with a comparative advantage can concentrate their labor, capital, and resources on output with lower opportunity costs, resulting in larger profit margins. Second, absolute and competitive advantage. Businesses engage in commerce to profit from advantages. They may obtain a competitive or even absolute advantage by doing so. And third, increase efficiency. Businesses opt to focus their production on commodities or services that they can produce more efficiently and then purchase from trading partners what they cannot. And then we move to factors affecting comparative advantage. The first factors of production. A major factor that affects comparative advantage is the country's quality and quantity of the factors of production. For example, the natural availability of mineral resources like iron, gold, and copper is not something a country can change. Second, trade barriers. Subsidies and taxes are examples of trade barriers that can be implemented by the government to create an artificial comparative advantage. A subsidy would make exports more competitive, and a tariff would discourage imports. And then, third, inflation. An increase in the rate of inflation would make exported goods more expensive and imported goods cheaper. And then, fourth, exchange rate. Movements in exchange rates affect the prices of imported and exported goods. For example, if your home currency depreciates, which means foreign currency can buy more of your home currency, then your exports will increase as your goods are cheaper relative to others. I think it is enough. Thanks for watching.